In a world where people are constantly rushing, reacting, and worrying about what might happen next, learning how to stay peaceful has become one of the greatest forms of power. Every day, countless individuals are controlled by anger they cannot release, fears they cannot explain, and thoughts that never seem to stop. Buddhism teaches that freedom is not about escaping problems, but about training the mind so deeply that external chaos no longer disturbs internal balance. These timeless lessons can guide you toward emotional clarity, mental strength, and a calm confidence that allows you to face life without being overwhelmed by it. 1. Anger hurts the one who holds. Buddhism teaches that anger is like holding a burning coal with the intention of throwing it at someone else. Before you can even throw it, your own hand starts burning. In the same way, when you hold anger inside, the first person who suffers is always you. Your heart beats faster, your mind becomes restless, and your peace slowly disappears. Many people believe anger gives them power, but in reality, it takes control away from them. It makes them say words they later regret and take actions that create even more pain. Most anger is not really about what happened in the moment. It becomes stronger because we keep thinking about the same situation again and again. We replay conversations in our head, imagine different outcomes, and hold on to the feeling long after the event is over. This repeated thinking keeps the wound fresh. Instead of healing, the mind keeps hurting itself. Training the mind to let go of anger begins with simple awareness. The next time anger arises, pause for a moment. Notice how your body feels. Maybe your chest feels tight, your jaw becomes tense, or your breathing becomes fast. These are signs that anger is taking over. When you observe these sensations calmly, you create a small but powerful gap between your emotion and your reaction. Inside this gap, you gain the freedom to choose a wiser response. With practice, you start realizing that protecting your inner peace is far more valuable than proving a point or winning an argument. Letting go of anger does not mean you are weak or that you accept wrong behavior. It simply means you refuse to allow someone else's actions to disturb your mental balance. True strength is not in reacting loudly, but in remaining calm and clear, even in difficult moments. 2. Fear is often created by the mind. Fear feels very real when it appears. It can make your heart beat faster, your hands feel cold, and your thoughts become heavy with doubt. Buddhism teaches that fear is often not caused by what is happening right now, but by what the mind imagines might happen in the future. The mind starts creating stories of failure, rejection, loss, or uncertainty. These stories feel true even though they have not actually happened. When fear takes control, it limits your actions and weakens your confidence. You may avoid opportunities, stay silent when you want to speak, or give up before even trying. Over time, this creates regret and self-doubt. The more you listen to fearful thoughts, the stronger they become. The mind begins to believe that danger exists everywhere, even in safe situations. Training the mind to let go of fear begins by returning to the present moment. Ask yourself gently, what is happening right now? In many cases, you will notice that the danger you are worried about is not actually there. You are simply breathing, sitting, walking, or living a normal moment. This awareness helps break the illusion fear creates. Instead of being trapped in imagined futures, you become grounded in reality. With practice, you learn that fear is a signal, not a command. It may appear to warn you, but it does not have to control your decisions. True courage is not the absence of fear, it is the ability to move forward calmly, even when fear is present. When you understand this, fear slowly loses its power, and your mind becomes stronger, clearer, and more peaceful. 3. Worry is a habit, not a solution. Worry often feels like something we must do in order to stay responsible and prepared. Many people believe that if they stop worrying, they will become careless or lazy. But Buddhist wisdom explains that worry is not a requirement for a good life. It is simply a mental habit that forms when the mind keeps repeating fearful thoughts about the future. Over time, this habit becomes so normal that we no longer question it. We assume that worrying is helping us, even when it is slowly draining our peace and energy. When you worry, your mind keeps moving in circles. You think about problems again and again without reaching a clear decision. You imagine worst-case scenarios and feel stressed about things that may never happen. This constant mental activity makes the body tired and the heart restless. Sleep becomes disturbed, concentration becomes weak, and even simple tasks begin to feel heavy. Instead of solving problems, worry makes them feel bigger and more frightening. Buddhism teaches that there is a big difference between thinking wisely and worrying endlessly. Wise thinking leads to action. It helps you plan, learn, and improve. Worry, on the other hand, keeps you stuck in fear without moving forward. It is like sitting in a rocking chair. You feel busy and exhausted, but you are not actually going anywhere. Understanding this difference is the first step toward freeing yourself from the habit of worry. Training the mind to release worry begins with awareness. The next time you notice yourself worrying, pause and ask a simple question. Is there something I can do about this right now? If the answer is yes, take one small step toward solving the issue. Action reduces anxiety because it gives the mind a sense of direction. If the answer is no, then gently remind yourself that worrying will not change the outcome. In such moments, the healthiest choice is to let the thought pass and return your attention to the present. Another powerful way to reduce worry is by grounding yourself in simple experiences. Feel your breath moving in and out. Notice the sounds around you. Observe the sensations in your body. These small acts of awareness bring the mind back from imagined futures into real life. As you practice this regularly, you begin to realize that most of the time, the present moment is not as frightening as the stories your mind creates. With patience and practice, the habit of worry becomes weaker. You start trusting yourself more. You understand that challenges will come, but you also develop confidence in your ability to handle them when they arrive. This trust creates inner calm. Instead of living in constant tension about tomorrow, you begin to live more fully today. When the mind is free from unnecessary worry, it becomes clear, creative, and strong. You make better decisions, build healthier relationships, and move through life with quiet confidence. This is the peace that grows when worry is no longer allowed to control your thoughts. 4. Everything you feel is temporary. One of the most powerful teachings in Buddhism is the understanding of impermanence. It reminds us that nothing in life stays the same forever. Every emotion, every situation, every thought, and every experience is constantly changing. Yet when we feel pain, fear, anger, or sadness, it often seems like these feelings will last forever. In difficult moments, the mind convinces us that this discomfort is permanent. This belief creates even more suffering than the emotion itself. When a strong emotion arises, the natural reaction is to resist it. We try to push it away, hide it, or fight against it. But the more we resist, the more intense the emotion becomes. It is like trying to hold a beach ball underwater. The harder you push, the stronger it comes back up. Buddhist wisdom teaches a different approach. Instead of fighting emotions, we learn to observe them with patience and understanding. We allow them to rise, stay for a while, and then naturally pass. Think about how the weather changes. A storm may feel overwhelming while it is happening. The sky becomes dark, the wind becomes strong, and the rain seems endless. But no storm lasts forever. Slowly, the clouds begin to clear, the wind becomes gentle, and sunlight returns. Emotions work in a very similar way. When you understand that feelings are temporary, you stop reacting impulsively. You stop making permanent decisions based on temporary states of mind. Training the mind to accept impermanence brings deep emotional stability. When anger arises, you remind yourself that it will fade. When fear appears, you remember that it is only visiting. When sadness enters your heart, you understand that it is part of being human, not a life sentence. This awareness reduces panic and creates space for calm thinking. Instead of being overwhelmed by emotions, you become their observer. Another important part of this lesson is understanding that pleasant feelings are also temporary. Happiness, excitement, and success come and go. This realization is not meant to make you negative. It helps you appreciate good moments more deeply while they are present. You begin to enjoy life without becoming attached or afraid of losing what you have. This balance protects your peace. With regular practice, you start developing emotional patience. You no longer expect yourself to feel strong and positive all the time. You allow yourself to experience life fully without judging every feeling. Over time, this acceptance transforms your relationship with emotions. You stop fearing them, and you stop being controlled by them. Instead, you move through life with quiet confidence, knowing that no feeling has the power to stay forever. When you truly understand impermanence, you also become kinder toward yourself and others. You realize that people change, situations change, and even your own mind changes. This understanding reduces anger, softens fear, and weakens worry. It teaches you to stay steady in the middle of life's ups and downs. In this steady awareness, real peace begins to grow. 5. Peace begins when you stop trying to control everything. One of the deepest causes of anger, fear, and worry is the strong desire to control how life unfolds. We want people to behave according to our expectations. We want situations to move exactly as we planned. We want the future to be predictable and safe. When reality does not follow our wishes, frustration begins to grow. The mind starts asking, "Why is this happening to me?" This resistance creates inner tension that slowly takes away our peace. Buddhism teaches that much of life is uncertain and constantly changing. Trying to control every outcome is like trying to hold water tightly in your hands. The more force you use, the faster it slips away. This does not mean you should become careless or stop making efforts. It means understanding the difference between what you can influence and what you cannot. You can control your actions, your effort, your attitude, and your response. But you cannot fully control other people's opinions, unexpected events, or the timing of life. When you accept this truth, a powerful shift begins inside you. Instead of wasting energy worrying about things beyond your reach, you start focusing on what is actually possible in the present moment. This brings clarity and strength. You become more effective because your mind is no longer divided between reality and imagination. You take responsibility for your choices without feeling burdened by the need to manage everything. Many emotional struggles come from attachment to specific outcomes. You may work hard toward a goal and feel anxious about whether you will succeed. You may try to make someone understand you and feel hurt when they do not. You may plan your future carefully and feel afraid when uncertainty appears. These reactions are natural, but when they become intense, they disturb your inner balance. Buddhist wisdom encourages a different mindset. You give your best effort, but you also learn to release the demand that life must unfold exactly as you expect. Training the mind to let go of excessive control requires patience and trust. Trust does not mean believing that everything will always be perfect. It means believing that you have the strength to handle whatever comes. When you stop trying to control every detail, you create space for flexibility. You become more open to learning, adapting, and growing. This openness reduces fear because you are no longer fighting reality. Instead, you are moving with it. Another important aspect of this lesson is understanding that control often hides insecurity. When you feel uncertain or afraid, the mind tries to create safety by managing every situation. But true safety comes from inner stability, not external control. When your mind becomes calm and clear, you naturally respond to challenges with wisdom instead of panic. You begin to see that life's unpredictability is not always an enemy. Sometimes it brings opportunities, new paths, and unexpected growth. As you practice letting go of control, relationships also improve. You stop trying to change people forcefully and start accepting them as they are. This reduces conflict and builds mutual respect. You listen more deeply and react less impulsively. Over time, you develop emotional maturity. You learn that peace does not come from making life perfect. It comes from learning to stay balanced even when life is imperfect. When you truly understand this teaching, a sense of lightness enters your heart. You still care about your goals, your loved ones, and your future, but you no longer carry the heavy burden of trying to control everything. You act with sincerity, accept uncertainty with courage, and allow life to flow naturally. In this state of acceptance, anger becomes weaker, fear loses its grip, and worry begins to fade. This is the quiet freedom that arises when the mind stops fighting what it cannot control. 6. Your thoughts are not always the truth. The human mind produces an endless stream of thoughts every single day. Some thoughts are helpful and guide us toward wise decisions, while others are shaped by fear, past pain, insecurity, or misunderstanding. The problem begins when we start believing that every thought we have is true. When this happens, the mind becomes a place of confusion rather than clarity. We react emotionally to ideas that may not even reflect reality. Buddhism teaches that thoughts are like clouds passing through the sky. They appear, stay for a while, and then disappear. The sky itself remains unchanged. In the same way, your awareness is steady and peaceful, but your thoughts keep moving. When you forget this, you become deeply attached to whatever your mind says. A negative thought can make you feel hopeless. A fearful thought can make you avoid opportunities. A doubtful thought can weaken your confidence. Slowly, these patterns begin to shape your life. Many people suffer not because of what is actually happening, but because of the stories they tell themselves about what is happening. For example, someone may not reply to a message, and the mind immediately assumes rejection or disrespect. A small mistake at work may lead to thoughts like, "I am not capable," or "I will always fail." These thoughts feel real because they trigger emotions. Yet if we look carefully, we realize they are only interpretations, not facts. Training the mind means learning to observe thoughts without becoming trapped by them. When a thought arises, instead of reacting instantly, you pause and ask yourself, "Is this absolutely true?" This simple question creates space for understanding. You begin to see that thoughts are often influenced by mood, past experiences, or temporary stress. What feels true in one moment may feel completely different in another. This realization weakens the power thoughts have over your emotions. Meditative awareness is one of the most effective ways to develop this skill. When you sit quietly and focus on your breath, you start noticing how thoughts come and go on their own. You do not have to push them away or chase them. You simply watch. Over time, this practice builds inner distance between you and your mental activity. You stop identifying with every idea that crosses your mind. Instead, you become the calm observer behind the noise. Understanding that thoughts are not always truth also helps reduce anger, fear, and worry. Angry thoughts may exaggerate how badly someone has treated you. Fearful thoughts may predict disasters that never occur. Worried thoughts may keep you stuck in endless doubt. When you stop treating these thoughts as unquestionable facts, emotional suffering begins to decrease. You gain the freedom to respond wisely rather than react impulsively. Another important benefit of this awareness is self-compassion. When you realize that the mind naturally produces both positive and negative thoughts, you stop judging yourself harshly for having them. You understand that thoughts are part of being human, not a sign of weakness. This gentle acceptance creates emotional healing. You become kinder toward yourself and more patient with your growth. With consistent practice, your mind becomes clearer and more stable. Instead of being pushed and pulled by every passing thought, you develop inner strength. You learn to choose which thoughts deserve attention and which can be released. This ability transforms the way you experience life. Challenges still arise, but your response becomes calmer and more balanced. You begin to live with greater confidence, knowing that peace does not depend on controlling every thought, but on understanding their true nature. 7. True strength is inner calm. In today's fast and competitive world, strength is often misunderstood. Many people believe strength means speaking loudly, reacting quickly, dominating others, or always proving that they are right. Society praises aggression, constant activity, and visible success. But Buddhist wisdom offers a very different definition of strength. True strength is not about controlling others or forcing situations to go your way. True strength is the ability to remain calm, steady, and clear even when life becomes difficult. Inner calm is not something that appears automatically. It is a quality that develops slowly through understanding and practice. When anger arises, the natural reaction is to fight. When fear appears, the instinct is to run away. When worry grows, the mind starts spinning endlessly. These reactions feel powerful in the moment, but they often leave us exhausted and confused. Inner calm, on the other hand, allows us to respond with wisdom instead of reacting with emotion. It gives us the ability to see situations clearly and choose actions that create less suffering. Imagine standing near a lake early in the morning. When the water is still and undisturbed, it reflects the sky, the mountains, and the trees with perfect clarity. But when the surface becomes restless due to wind or movement, the reflection disappears. The mind works in the same way. When it is calm, it reflects reality accurately. When it is disturbed by anger, fear, or worry, clarity is lost. Decisions made in such states are often impulsive and regrettable. Training the mind to remain calm is therefore one of the most important skills a person can develop. Inner calm does not mean that you stop feeling emotions. It means you learn not to be controlled by them. You still experience happiness, sadness, excitement, and disappointment, but these emotions no longer push you into harmful reactions. Instead, they become signals that you observe and understand. This awareness creates emotional maturity. You begin to realize that reacting instantly is not always necessary. Sometimes the most powerful response is patience. One of the greatest benefits of inner calm is resilience. Life is unpredictable. Plans fail, relationships change, and unexpected challenges appear without warning. If your mind depends on perfect conditions to feel peaceful, you will suffer repeatedly. But when calmness becomes your inner foundation, you can face uncertainty with courage. You understand that storms will come, but you also trust your ability to remain steady through them. This trust reduces fear and builds confidence. Buddhist teachings often emphasize the practice of mindfulness to develop this strength. Mindfulness means being fully aware of what is happening in the present moment without judging or resisting it. When you practice mindfulness regularly, you become more familiar with your own mental patterns. You notice how quickly anger rises, how fear creates tension, and how worry tries to take control. Instead of being surprised by these reactions, you learn to meet them with calm attention. This gentle awareness slowly weakens their intensity. Another important aspect of inner calm is compassion. When you are calm, you understand that other people are also struggling with their own fears, anger, and worries. This understanding makes you less reactive and more patient in relationships. You stop taking every disagreement personally. You listen more deeply and speak more thoughtfully. Over time, this creates harmony not only within yourself, but also in your interactions with others. Calmness becomes a source of healing. Inner calm also improves your ability to make wise decisions. When the mind is restless, it jumps to conclusions and focuses only on short-term relief. When the mind is peaceful, it considers long-term consequences and chooses actions that align with deeper values. This clarity helps you move toward meaningful goals without being distracted by temporary emotions. You begin to live with intention rather than impulse. Developing inner calm requires consistent effort. It is similar to strengthening a muscle. At first, it feels difficult to pause before reacting or to stay patient in stressful situations. But with practice, these responses become more natural. Simple habits like mindful breathing, quiet reflection, and observing thoughts without judgment gradually transform the mind. Over time, you notice that situations which once disturbed you no longer have the same power. What used to create anger now creates understanding. What once caused fear now inspires careful action. Another powerful realization that comes with inner calm is the understanding that peace is an internal choice. Many people wait for life to become easier before allowing themselves to feel relaxed. They believe peace will come after success, after approval from others, or after all problems are solved. Buddhist wisdom teaches that peace can exist even in imperfect circumstances. When you train your mind, you discover that calmness is not a reward given by the world. It is a state you cultivate within yourself. As inner calm grows, your presence begins to influence others. People feel safe around someone who is emotionally balanced. Your words carry more weight because they come from clarity rather than agitation. Your actions inspire trust because they are guided by thoughtfulness instead of impulse. Without trying to dominate or control anyone, you naturally become a source of stability. This quiet strength is far more powerful than loud displays of confidence. In the long journey of life, there will always be moments of success and moments of struggle. External conditions will rise and fall like waves. But when inner calm becomes your true strength, you no longer feel lost in these changes. You learn to move through both joy and difficulty with the same steady awareness. This balance allows you to experience life fully without being overwhelmed by it. Ultimately, true strength is not measured by how forcefully you react or how much control you have over others. It is measured by how peacefully you can remain within yourself. When you train your mind to stay calm, you gain a form of freedom that cannot be taken away by circumstances. Anger loses its fire, fear loses its shadow, and worry loses its endless grip. In their place, clarity, compassion, and confidence begin to grow. This is the quiet power of inner calm. It does not need recognition or applause. It reveals itself in your ability to stay centered when chaos surrounds you. It shines in your patience during hardship and in your wisdom during success. When you truly understand this teaching, you realize that the greatest victory is not over the world outside, but over the turbulence within. And from that victory, a peaceful and meaningful life naturally unfolds. 8. Letting go is the beginning of true freedom. One of the most life-changing teachings in Buddhism is the understanding that suffering often continues not because of what happens to us, but because of what we refuse to release. The mind has a powerful tendency to hold on to memories, expectations, fears, regrets, and imagined futures. We hold on to painful words, someone once said. We hold on to missed opportunities. We hold on to the idea that life should have turned out differently. This constant holding creates a heavy emotional burden that slowly steals our joy and peace. Letting go does not mean forgetting your experiences or pretending that pain never existed. It means changing your relationship with what has already happened. It means understanding that carrying yesterday's emotions into today only weakens your ability to live fully. When you hold tightly to past hurt, it becomes part of your identity. You begin to see yourself as someone who was wronged, someone who failed, or someone who lost. This mental attachment shapes how you think, how you feel, and how you behave. Buddhist wisdom teaches that attachment is one of the main roots of suffering. Attachment is not only about people or material things. It is also about ideas, expectations, and emotional patterns. We become attached to how we think life should be. When reality does not match these expectations, disappointment and frustration arise. The mind keeps asking, "Why didn't this happen?" or "Why did this happen to me?" These questions rarely bring peace. Instead, they keep the wound open. Training the mind to let go begins with acceptance. Acceptance does not mean approval. It means recognizing reality as it is in this moment. When you accept that the past cannot be changed, you stop wasting energy fighting what is already finished. This simple shift creates space for healing. Instead of being trapped in endless mental resistance, you begin to move forward with clarity. Another important part of letting go is forgiveness. Forgiveness is often misunderstood as something we do for others. In truth, it is something we do for ourselves. When you forgive, you release the emotional chains that tie you to painful experiences. You stop replaying the same stories in your mind. You stop allowing anger and resentment to define your inner world. This does not mean you allow harmful behavior to continue. It means you choose peace over prolonged suffering. Fear also weakens when you learn to let go. Many fears come from attachment to control and certainty. We want guarantees that nothing will go wrong. We want assurance that we will never feel pain again. But life does not offer such promises. When you let go of the demand for perfect safety, you discover courage. You become willing to face uncertainty with openness instead of panic. This willingness allows growth and new possibilities to enter your life. Worry fades in the same way. Worry is often an attempt to control the future through endless thinking. The mind believes that if it keeps analyzing every possible outcome, it will prevent problems. But this habit creates exhaustion rather than solutions. Letting go of worry means trusting your ability to handle challenges when they actually arise. It means choosing action when action is possible and choosing peace when it is not. Letting go also transforms relationships. When you stop clinging to how people should behave, you become more understanding and patient. You listen without forcing your views. You give space without feeling insecure. This emotional flexibility builds healthier connections. You no longer depend on others for your sense of stability because you are developing strength within yourself. Another powerful aspect of this teaching is learning to let go of the need to prove yourself. Many people live under constant pressure to gain approval or recognition. They feel restless if others do not appreciate their efforts. This dependence creates emotional ups and downs. When you let go of this need, you begin to act from authenticity rather than fear. You focus on meaningful growth instead of comparison. This shift brings deep satisfaction that does not rely on external validation. Meditation and mindful awareness are practical tools that support the process of letting go. When you sit quietly and observe your thoughts, you notice how the mind tries to hold on to certain ideas. You see memories appearing, emotions rising, and expectations forming. Instead of chasing or suppressing them, you practice allowing them to pass naturally. Over time, this develops mental lightness. You realize that you do not have to carry every thought or feeling with you. As letting go becomes a habit, life starts to feel less complicated. Situations that once triggered intense reactions begin to lose their power. You respond more calmly because you are no longer holding on to rigid expectations. You adapt more easily because you trust your inner stability. This flexibility creates resilience, the ability to recover quickly from challenges and continue moving forward. Letting go is also closely connected to living in the present moment. When you release attachment to the past and anxiety about the future, your awareness naturally returns to what is happening now. You start noticing simple experiences, the rhythm of your breath, the warmth of sunlight, the sound of nature, or the quiet presence of loved ones. These moments were always available, but they were hidden behind mental noise. True freedom does not come from escaping life's difficulties. It comes from changing how you relate to them. When you stop clinging to pain, fear, or expectations, you discover a deep sense of inner space. In this space, wisdom grows. You make decisions with greater clarity. You express emotions with balance. You move through life with gentle confidence. This freedom is not dramatic or loud. It is subtle and steady. It shows itself in your ability to smile during uncertainty, to remain patient during conflict, and to stay hopeful during hardship. Letting go becomes a continuous practice rather than a one-time achievement. Each day offers new opportunities to release what no longer serves your peace. In the end, letting go is not about losing anything valuable. It is about removing the unnecessary weight that prevents you from living fully. When the mind becomes lighter, the heart becomes calmer. Anger fades more quickly, fear loses intensity, and worry stops dominating your thoughts. You begin to experience life with openness and gratitude. This is the beginning of true freedom, not freedom from challenges, but freedom from the mental chains that make challenges unbearable. When you understand this deeply, you realize that peace was never something you had to chase. It was always waiting on the other side of what you were holding too tightly. 9. The present moment is the only place where peace exists. One of the most profound realizations in Buddhist wisdom is that true peace can only be experienced in the present moment. Yet, most people spend very little time truly living in the present. The mind constantly travels backward into memories or forward into imagined futures. We replay past mistakes, past hurts, and missed opportunities. At the same time, we worry about what might happen tomorrow, next week, or even years from now. This constant movement of the mind creates restlessness and emotional fatigue. When the mind is trapped in the past, it often carries regret and resentment. You may think about things you wish you had done differently. You may relive painful experiences and feel the same emotions again, as if they are happening now. Although the past cannot be changed, the mind keeps revisiting it, trying to rewrite a story that is already finished. This habit creates unnecessary suffering because it keeps old wounds alive. When the mind is focused on the future, it tends to create fear and worry. You imagine problems that have not yet occurred. You feel anxious about outcomes you cannot fully control. You try to prepare for every possible situation, believing that constant thinking will keep you safe. But instead of feeling secure, you become mentally exhausted. The present moment where life is actually happening gets ignored. Buddhism teaches that the present moment is not just a small point in time. It is the only reality you ever truly experience. The past exists as memory, and the future exists as imagination. Both can influence your thoughts, but neither is directly accessible. Peace becomes possible when you bring your awareness back to what is happening right now. In this moment, you are breathing. In this moment, you are alive. In this moment, you have the ability to observe, learn, and respond. Training the mind to stay in the present requires patience. At first, you may notice how quickly your thoughts wander. While working, you may start thinking about past conversations. While resting, you may begin worrying about future responsibilities. This is natural because the mind has been conditioned for years to move this way. The practice is not about forcing thoughts to stop. It is about gently returning attention to the present each time you notice distraction. Mindful breathing is one of the simplest and most powerful ways to anchor yourself in the present. When you focus on the sensation of air moving in and out of your body, you create a connection with reality as it is now. This awareness calms the nervous system and reduces emotional intensity. Even a few moments of conscious breathing can break the cycle of anger, fear, or worry. Over time, this small habit builds strong mental stability. Another way to experience the present is by fully engaging in daily activities. When you eat, notice the taste and texture of food. When you walk, feel the contact of your feet with the ground. When you listen to someone, give them your complete attention. These simple acts transform ordinary moments into opportunities for peace. Instead of rushing through life on autopilot, you begin to live with awareness and appreciation. Living in the present also improves emotional balance. When anger arises, it is often connected to past events. When fear appears, it is usually linked to future uncertainty. By bringing the mind back to the present, you reduce the power of these emotions. You see situations more clearly because you are not viewing them through the lens of old pain or imagined danger. This clarity allows wiser responses. The present moment is also where real change happens. You cannot act in the past, and you cannot act in the future. You can only make choices now. When you focus on the present, you become more effective in solving problems and pursuing meaningful goals. Instead of being overwhelmed by what might happen, you concentrate on the next practical step. This approach reduces anxiety and increases confidence. Another important benefit of present moment awareness is gratitude. When the mind stops chasing what is missing or fearing what might be lost, it begins to notice what is already available. You become aware of simple blessings, the support of loved ones, the beauty of nature, the opportunity to learn and grow. Gratitude softens the heart and creates emotional resilience. Even during difficult times, it reminds you that life still contains moments of value and meaning. Developing the habit of living in the present does not mean ignoring the past or neglecting future planning. It means using memory and foresight wisely without becoming trapped in them. You learn from past experiences without reliving their pain. You prepare for the future without being consumed by fear. This balanced approach creates mental freedom. With regular practice, the present moment begins to feel like a safe place rather than something to escape from. You become more comfortable with uncertainty because you trust your ability to respond when challenges arise. You experience deeper connections with people because you are truly attentive during interactions. You perform tasks more effectively because your mind is focused rather than scattered. Inner peace grows naturally in this state of awareness. It does not require perfect conditions or complete control over life. It arises from the simple act of being fully present. When you understand this deeply, you realize that peace has always been available. It was hidden behind constant mental movement. By returning to the present again and again, you uncover a quiet strength that supports you through every change. In the end, the present moment is not just a concept. It is the doorway to clarity, calmness, and meaningful living. When you step through this doorway with awareness, you stop being a prisoner of past regrets and future worries. You begin to experience life directly, moment by moment. This is the foundation of true peace, a peace that remains steady even as circumstances change. Training your mind to let go of anger, fear, and worry is not a quick fix. It is a gradual journey of understanding yourself more deeply. There will be days when old emotions return, when your patience feels weak, and when peace seems far away. This is part of the process. Buddhist wisdom reminds us that growth does not happen in a straight line. Every moment of awareness, every pause before reacting, and every attempt to stay calm is a step toward inner freedom. As you continue practicing these teachings, you begin to notice subtle but powerful changes. Situations that once triggered anger no longer disturb you as much. Fear that once stopped you from moving forward becomes easier to face. Worry that once filled your mind starts to lose its grip. You may still experience challenges, but your response becomes wiser and more balanced. Instead of being controlled by emotions, you learn to understand them and let them pass. Peace is not something that appears only when life becomes perfect. It is something you build from within, moment by moment. By observing your thoughts, accepting impermanence, letting go of excessive control, and returning your awareness to the present, you create a strong inner foundation. From this foundation, confidence and clarity naturally grow. You begin to trust that no matter what happens, you have the ability to remain steady. This journey is not about becoming emotionless. It is about becoming emotionally intelligent and spiritually strong. You still care, you still feel, and you still face difficulties, but you no longer carry unnecessary mental suffering. You move through life with patience, compassion, and quiet courage. In this state, your mind becomes a place of refuge rather than conflict. Remember that true transformation comes from consistent practice. Small daily efforts, mindful breathing, honest reflection, and gentle self-awareness can slowly reshape the way you experience the world. Over time, you realize that peace was never something you had to chase outside. It was always within reach, waiting for you to slow down and notice it. When you train your mind to stay peaceful, you discover a powerful truth. Freedom is not found in changing everything around you. Freedom is found in understanding and mastering what happens within you. And once this inner mastery begins, life no longer feels like a constant struggle. It becomes a journey you can walk with calm strength, open awareness, and a heart that is finally at ease.